and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. A couple of interesting things to talk about this week, so let's get straight into it. Azure Communication Services. So recently, the Azure Communication Services team have been doing a series of webinars talking about different features of that platform. And the most recent one they did was all about SMS messaging. And they've recently, in the last week, written that up into a blog post. Now, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago because they did it for their WhatsApp messaging functionality, and which was a previous webinar. And I really like the layout in which they do these blog posts. And this one, all about SMS messaging, is in exactly the same format, which is great. So let's check it out. This is the blog post, and I like this format of like the structure of it. Like taking you through exactly, step by step what you need to do to get it working, and what they did in the call. The whole webinar is on YouTube, so you can go check it out. And you can also, you've got links there to the Learn Collection stuff. So if you're new into Azure Communication Services and you know that you want to use it for sending and receiving SMS messages, this is a really, really good place to start. If you're using Azure Communication Services for something else, for something that maybe isn't SMS, then this is also quite good as well, because you can look at this and then you know what's available, you know what's possible. So that's really good as well. So like I say, I really like the layout of these and the structure of them, and this is a really good one. So that's that. Azure Communication Services, SMS messaging. Go check it out if you're interested in that. Update to the bot user experience in Microsoft Teams and the way that you can use Microsoft Teams as a placeholder, if you like, or a place or a surface, a operating system for work, some people say, for bots. Now, Teams is arguably the oldest container for bots. Like, it predates all of the Copilot stuff. And we were building bots in Teams long before Copilot existed. And so in some respects, there's a little bit of catching up that needs to be done. But what I think is actually really good to see is that infrastructure is continuing to be invested in. I would say it's probably not being invested as quickly and as fast as it used to be. But that might well be because it's reached a level of maturity that means it doesn't need to. However, things are happening that are good for it, good for that Microsoft Teams platform as a container for bots. And this is a really, really good example of that. This is the ability now in Teams to have bots where you can stream messages. Now, massively obvious use case for streaming messages is because you've got it tied to an LLM, and that's how the messages come from LLMs, and that's how you keep response time very short for a much more natural experience. It's how you can support interruptions and all the rest of it. So really good to see this functionality coming into the Teams container. So streaming bot messages available for one-to-one chats, generally available on web, desktop, and mobile. They say that it isn't supported yet or isn't available with function calling and the OpenAI 001 model. Not quite sure why it would make a difference, why the model would make a difference. Perhaps I don't fully understand the implementation that's happened here, but I would have thought if you can stream, if you can send, it kind of doesn't matter where you're getting the messaging from. But maybe there's some nuance there I'm not aware of. So you can do other things as well. You can do informative message streaming, so very similar to how Copilot does. You can put these kind of progress things in, right? So which is really good. And then you've got this responsive streaming you can send through. So this is really good. Some elements of this I think were there before, so please don't tell me that I'm being stupid by talking about something that's already existing. I feel like it was possible to do some level of text streaming already. I don't think this is just a rewrite, like a documentation rewrite. That I think there is genuinely new stuff happening in here that makes this a little bit better as well, like the informative message stuff as well. And some of the way the support for it, I think, is probably a little bit stronger. So the documentation is really good actually, and also goes through how you could do this with the Teams AI library implementation if you want to. So that's kind of halfway down the page. So if you're using the Teams AI library, you can use this. It's kind of a case of enabling it really and configuring it in here. So they've got good documentation for exactly how to do that. So this is a good one. Like I say, it's really good to see the Microsoft Teams container evolving to support some of this stuff as the technology, as the AI technology evolves. So that's all good. Speaking of the evolution of AI technology, we have a What's New in Copilot Studio for this month, a blog post out by Omar Aftab, who's the Vice President of Conversational AI now. This is a nice roundup. I don't touch loads on Copilot Studio. I tend to try and keep the stuff I'm talking about here mostly for pro developers. Doesn't mean you shouldn't know what's going on in Copilot Studio. It's just there's better people talking about that stuff already. However, what I will say as a pro dev is absolutely important to understand and just keep your eye on what's happening in the Copilot Studio space. If only that way you know when to turn to Copilot Studio to get something done. That might be a real pain to do in like pro code. It might be that actually this is a super easy thing you can do in Copilot Studio, and that's helpful. Very good for proof of concepts. Very good for sort of just seeing if would a bot, would an agent be really helpful here. So this is their What's New update. So they've got a bunch of things. I'm not really going to go through all of them. They've got a bunch of new third-party graph connectors. This approvals flow for agents, which is I think is quite interesting. And then they've got some integration stuff with Viva to show the ROI of the investment of building these bots. And then this is, I'm going to jump all the way to this one, the autonomous agents and generative orchestration support in analytics. So they've got this good kind of analytics information about what's going on, what the triggers are for, kind of the actions that get taken and stuff. So a little bit more insight into what's happening with your Copilot Studio instances, which I think is a good thing. So yeah, good to see that as a blog post. Like I say, not going to go to it in loads of detail, but if you want to, the links to all of these are in the description of the video, so you can go check them out for yourself. And finally, a more businessy blog post. This is one of those use case blog posts that Microsoft like to put out, where they draw together all of the examples, the case studies of people doing things that they would like you to do more of. In this case, it's Agentic AI. So they've got lots of examples of how businesses have done things with Microsoft technology and to kind of further their agentic capabilities. So this will be a mixture of using Copilot Studio, using Azure AI Foundry, but let's go to this blog post, and yeah, you can see they've got a whole bunch. It really is, you've got the introduction here, and then it's just case study after case study after case study. They're even alphabetically ordered. This is really just a table of case studies, but this can be super useful. So if you're looking for case studies, if you're looking either for ideas as a developer, as an ISV, as an indie developer, or within an organization looking for ideas for how Agentic AI can help you, this can be super interesting. If you need examples to take to your boss of other companies and other industries doing this stuff, then this is really, really useful. If you just want to kind of understand some of what's possible, you're not quite sure how to separate the reality from the hype, then some of these use cases are good. Just be aware, I would say, that the use cases, they're all good. They're obviously the most positive write-up of the experience. So if you have somebody in that organization you can contact, that can be super, super helpful as well, because then you understand the context, you understand the nuance as well. The other thing as well is just to be aware of use cases are a point in time, and then the technology changes around the use case, but the use case is kind of a snapshot. So some of these use cases stretch back to last year. So you're looking at things that, based on last year's technology. And so it's important not necessarily to not necessarily conflate them with modern day announcements. Does that make sense? I hope so. Yeah, just be aware of those things, but it's a fantastic list of use cases. I think Microsoft should be proud of the work they've done to kind of get these previews out to people, work with these big companies to come up with these stories and these use cases so they've got them to tell. I think it's a very strong message. All right, that's enough from me for this week. Have a fantastic day. If you're in the UK, it's a public holiday, so enjoy. For the rest of you, sorry, you've got to go to work. But for the rest of us, we'll all be back tomorrow, and so have a great week, and I'll speak to you again next time.